Welcome back to 9 at a Time, the card channel where I go through sets of old baseball cards and sports cards, 9 cards at a time. Today I'm going through the 1989 Score baseball card set. We're going to be looking at cards 406 to 486. If you like the video, please click the like button. If you subscribe to the channel, I'd love that. And then leave a comment. I try to get back to everybody as quickly as I can. Let's get started. We start off with Andres Thomas, who played shortstop for the Braves. Then Rick Sutcliffe. And Rick Sutcliffe in 1984, you can see he was with the Indians. He was 4-5. They traded him to the Cubs, and he went 16-1. So he ended up going 20-6 for the year. That really kind of set him up as being an elite pitcher. You got Brian Harper, John Smiley, Juan Nieves, Sean Abner, Wes Gardner, Darren Daulton, and this is very early in Darren Daulton's career, and Juan Berenguer. Juan threw very hard. He was a hard-throwing pitcher. Charles Hudson, Rick Honeycutt. Rick Honeycutt was known as a crafty left-hander. He did not throw super duper hard. At this point, like it says, they have him down as a relief pitcher. He had been a starter for years and years. He's getting towards the end of his career. Greg Booker, Tim Belcher, Don August, Dale Mahorchik, Steve Lombardozzi, then Atlee Hammaker, another one of those crafty left-handers who got lots of people out. And then Jerry Don Gleaton, Scott Bales, Bruce Sutter. Bruce Sutter is the first kind of modern closer where they brought him in for maybe an inning. And if you look at the hold he has on that pitch, he threw the splitter. Before it was called a splitter, it was called a forkball. But he threw it, and it brought him great fame and a lot of saves. He was very good. Randy Reddy, Jerry Reed, Bryn Smith, Tim Leary. And every time I see a card of Tim Leary, I'm always reminded of the Dr. Timothy Leary. And if you want to know about him, you can look him up yourself. Mark Clear, Terry Leach. And Terry Leach, you got to love that picture because he came from the side. He was a sidearm pitcher. You know, got into games, didn't do saves. He was more of a long relief kind of guy. And then John Moses. Ozzie Guillen, who has been a manager, and this is when he was a player in 1989, and a relatively young player at that. Gene Nelson, Gary Ward, Luis Aguayo, Fernando Valenzuela. When he first came up in 1981, it was Fernando Mania. If you weren't around to experience what that was like, you missed it. He himself would bring in sellout crowds to Dodger Stadium. People just wanted to watch him pitch. Jeff Russell, Cecilio Guante, Don Robinson, and Rick Anderson. Tom Glavine. This is 1989 Tom Glavine. He came up in 88 and had a horrible year, 7-17. The Braves believed in him, they hung on to him, and it paid off. Darryl Boston, Joe Price, Stuart Clyburn, then you got Manny Trio, Joel Skinner, Charlie Pulejo, Carlton Fisk, And for Carlton Fisk, 1989, I don't know how many more years he would have played. Came up in 69 for a cup of coffee with the Red Sox, then came back up for good kind of in 71. For a catcher, maybe this was his last year. I don't know for sure. And then Will Clark, Will the Thrill, he got a lot of nicknames when he first came up. They called him Will the Thrill. The Natural was another one. And why would you not call him the Natural? 31 home runs, 29 home runs, 109 RBIs. He could rake, he could hit. Next up, you got Otis Nixon. He would end up with the Atlanta Braves. That's where he really started to steal bases. You can see that he kind of broke out that year in 88 with the Expos, stole 46 bases. He played center field. He covered a lot of ground, very fast. Not much power, but really fast. Rick Shue, Todd Stottlemyre, Len Burtsis, Dave Gallagher, Barry Lyons, Fred Manrique, Ernest Riles, and Doug Jennings. All right, Joe McGrain. This is early, pretty early in his career. Didn't do a whole lot. Ended up winning a Cy Young Award, doing all kinds of things. Got Jamie Quirk, Jack Armstrong, Bobby Witt, and yes, he is the father of Bobby Witt Jr. Keith Miller, Todd Burns, John Dobson, Rich Yett, and Craig Reynolds. Dave Bergman is up. Then Rex Hudler. Rex was the Wonder Dog. That's what his nickname was. He was full of energy, was a pretty much kind of a journeyman player, played with a lot of different teams. The Yankees, the Orioles, the Expos. I think he played for the Reds. I think he played for the Angels. He bounced around a lot. I think he played for the Kansas City Royals. Played long enough. Eric King, Joaquin Andujar. He had a stretch for the Cardinals, 84, 85. Won 20 games both years. Didn't strike people out. He was not a strikeout guy. He was more of a contact guy. Sil Camposano, Terry Mulholland. Mike Flanagan had some really good years with the Orioles, then went over to the Blue Jays. In 79, he won 23 games. I mean, he was good. Greg Harris, and then Tommy John, the guy they named the surgery after because he hurt his elbow. They did this groundbreaking surgery on him. He was the first one. And after the surgery, pitched for a long time. He didn't win 300 games. I think he won like 289, maybe it's 286. He may not have gone much further than that year. Dave Anderson, shortstop for the Dodgers. Fred Tolliver. Jimmy Key, at this point in his career, he hadn't been pitching for very long. He was really solid though. Donnell Nixon, Mark Portugal, Tom Pagnazzi, Jeff Kunkel, Frank Williams, and then Jody Reed with the Red Sox. So that then is cards 406 to 486 of the 1989 Score baseball card set. There's some cool cards in there. There's some interesting characters. If you enjoyed going through this, please click the like button. Take the time to go down and click that little subscribe button down there in the bottom. And leave a comment. I always like it when people leave comments. I try to answer them as rapidly as possible. Thank you for watching.